Coach, anything else stand out from the game tape after Saturday's game?
Yeah, I would say there's a number of things. One of which is UCLA is a really good basketball team. I think that's fairly obvious, not just in playing them the other night, but even playing them the first time in which we won. But if you look at their team, the makeup of their team, the efficiency of their offense, in some ways the uniqueness of their offense, you have to play your best game to have a chance to beat them, and we didn't do that. I think there's two areas of the game in which we weren't at our best, and again, I think it's important that we give them credit, because it wasn't as if I'm going to accuse our guys of lack of effort. Nobody in the world wanted to win the game more than the players that played for us. Everybody knew what was at stake. Everybody understood before the game began that it was a big game, and when you're in big games, you're going to play hard and you're going to want to win. But the fact is, they had 13 more shots than we did, and when you play a team as good as they are on offense, and you give them 13 more field goal attempts, it's going to be a tough task to beat them, and that's really what did us in. Their offensive rebounding, and what's really, I think, deceptive about it is in the first half, although I think they scored maybe 3 points on second shots, they, I think, had 3 second shots at halftime. So, and then if you watch the game closely, first 8 minutes of the second half, or really the first 10 minutes of the second half, they weren't hurting us on the glass. When we were down and needed a couple big stops, really from about the 10-minute mark down to 0, they killed us on second shots. And that's really what kept a number of their big possessions alive. So, it wasn't just our big guys. It was at times our guards. They wear you down and they spread you out because they play at a fast pace with a lot of movement. And in some ways, I think we were worn down a little bit. And that's something for us to take a look at this week as we, prepare for ASU. I know that there's probably a lot that's being talked about in terms of our zone offense versus, UCLA's zone or UCLA's improved zone. And UCLA played their zone 29 times, 29 possessions against us. And at the end of the day, we had 31 points in the 29 possessions they played zone. That's good. Where it felt funny was the first 8 times in the second half that they played their zone, we went 1 for 8 against it. And simultaneous with us going 1 for 8 against their zone in the second half, they caught fire on offense. And I used our timeouts to stay in the game. So you look at the game, it looks like, boy, we really struggled against the zone. I think the more accurate statement is for a portion of the second half, we really struggled against their zone. And that, coupled with the 13 second shots, that's as accurate of an assessment as a coach can ever give. And they beat us, and we lost to a really good team, and we're on to the next one.
Coach, at UCLA, Lonzo Ball was kind of a non-factor in the second half. Same thing the other night towards the tail end of the game. You would hardly even know he was out there. Is there something you guys are doing to kind of slow him down in the second half?
I mean, I would respectfully disagree. The thing about Lonzo Ball is he's kind of that old school point guard in that he doesn't need to score to dominate the game. There are plays that he makes in a game that you could coach 100 games and you might not see a play like that. And in the game the other night, I would say he had 4 or 5 like signature plays where, an incredible pass down the middle to Welsh in transition, and you rewind it and you're getting mad at your own team not getting back or matched up, but the ball's moving so fast. It was such an incredible pass that there's not much you can do. He steals the outlet in the first half and takes 2 dribbles and he's at the rim. Not only does he steal the outlet, but he finishes, and but he gives them a dimension that not many teams have. And in my mind, he's one of the great players that I've coached against. I think he's the best or one of the best players in college basketball today. I mean, you can make an argument for Markelle Fultz, who's also in the Pac-12, and there are a number of great players across the country. Nobody impacts the game more than Ball. And if he has 11 points, like he had 25 points against us at Pauley Pavilion, But you can make the case that he was more dominant in this game than even the last game because, again, he makes so many other plays that don't show up in the box score necessarily.
You pointed out Saturday about the lack of physicality up against UCLA. How concerned are you that that might manifest itself again somewhere here in the near future?
I mean, we're not going to be 26-4, be a really good defensive rebounding team, be a physical team, and then we got away from it for that 10 or 12-minute period of time, and now all of a sudden we don't know how to play basketball. That's really not an issue.
When you consider a defensive player of the year award for a conference, do you prefer the guy who shuts down somebody on the perimeter, or do you prefer that shot blocker at the rim? Is there kind of a flavor you prefer?
No, I think number one, what team do they play on? Because usually great individual defenders are playing on a winning team or a part of a team defense that's very, very good. Jordan Bell stands out for me as somebody who does everything. He can defend his man. The way Oregon chooses to play defense, they switch a lot, and he plays the 5. There aren't many centers that can switch onto guards, but he can. He's a great shot blocker. He'll get steals, and he rebounds. He's a very, very unique player. Again, it's what makes our conference so great. Jordan Bell, he's experienced, and he does a lot for Oregon, sometimes in an understated way. But I think of a guy like him, and I think of someone like Kadeem Allen, who guards the other team's best perimeter player night in, night out, plays on a good defensive team, and has had big moments for us defensively this season.
You got a player of the year in mind in the conference at this point, or do you think it'll come down to who wins the conference?
Yeah, there's so many. Who wins the conference? That's big. But Dylan Brooks, hard to argue with him. He was the conference player of the year last year. The only thing he's done is become better this year. And you talk about making big plays, and it's not just hitting buzzer shots or big plays at the end of games, which he's done, but he's had some big moments, big games in general statistically in some of those key moments in Oregon's season. So he's certainly one of them. UCLA has so many good players, but Lonzo Ball, I think he's another guy you can talk about, and I'm sure there are a lot of people that would look at somebody like Lowry on our team if we would win it. But there's not a shortage of talent in this year's Pac-12. Every team has some individual players that are really good, and I think you look at the top of the conference, a lot of these guys are going to go on and have big careers.
With 3 really, really strong teams, and people are talking about Final Four caliber teams, how is that a little bit different than it's been sometimes for you guys? Like, does it prepare, does it help, or instead of just maybe one team that you're competing against for the title, to have 2 and everyone playing at such a high level, what is that like, and do you think that's going to help as the 3 teams go into March?
No, I really do, because every time you play in a game like we just played on Saturday, you learn the most you can about your team because you're tested at such a level. And, I think for us, whether at Oregon, and obviously we caught them on the wrong night, but I think you see that a team that's that skilled, that if they're hitting on all cylinders, how it can feel. And then, playing UCLA twice in the Pac-12 tournament, that remains to be seen. But if we play each other again, I think it prepares you for the neutral court moment in the NCAA tournament, where you've played against excellence, and you've played against different styles. So your players, without them realizing it, I think they're accustomed to playing against talent, teams, coaches, individual players. But for sure, and also I don't even want to take away from a lot of the other teams in the Pac-12, because you look at Cal, Utah, for example, and Colorado's played much better here in the second half. USC, those are some really good teams as well, and I know they're all fighting to maybe take that next step. But our conference at the top this year, you're right, is very strong, and I think it's going to prepare us well for March.
What do you take away from ASU's win over SC?
It was a great comeback. That's for sure. I haven't, watched it again. I just saw the result and how it happened. But Bobby Hurley has done an outstanding job coaching his team this year. Now many coaches have gotten more out of their team than he's gotten out of his team. When they had a couple things go against them, injury or maybe one of their younger players left, but they're downsized. They play small ball, but he's made it work, and they score. They played a fast pace. They used the 3-point shot as a real weapon, and they've learned how to survive on defense playing that small. So they have a great group of guards, but he's done a really, really good job with his team, and we know that's going to be a really hard game. First of all, it's a road game. It's a conference road game. They have the opportunity to win their last home game against Arizona, and we're playing for a part of a Pac-12 championship. So it won't be any easier going there than it was this week at home, playing against UCLA and SC.
You did switch your lineup, and you've been saying you're going to maybe mix and match depending on. I mean, is it possible, or are you even thinking about with ASU that you might go small and move, say, Raleigh or somebody into the 4?
We have to prepare for that. You almost have to, because they're playing that lineup more now than maybe the first time that we played them. But at the same time, we just have to do what's best for our team. And we have a week here. I think this break comes at a good time for us. Kadeem's beat up with his finger, and he did the best he could this past week. But I think that as he gets another week under his belt, I'd like to think that it'll be healed up that much more, and in terms of his ability to shoot and feel comfortable out there. And even Lowry's played a lot of minutes. We've asked him to do everything. I think it just it's obvious. You start getting close to March, you wear down a little bit. But we have an opportunity to get healthy, rested, and improve and prepare for the game this week. And this is a big week to be able to do all those things.
Kadeem, did he tweak it more? Did it get any worse playing those two games?
No, he has stitches. So because we haven't given it a lot of time to heal, the stitches can open up. And I think that he got more stitches added just to make sure that it's closed and you guard against infection. But he's on the right track. He's healing. He's a lot less pain. He has more movement. Like stitches every 2 days, 3-4 days. Eventually we hope we can take those out. We might be there on Saturday. He might not have any stitches in. So far, he's playing with stitches in his fingers. So, you think about how that feels.
Did any of them pop out during the
Not a negative.
Just rapping at it during the UCLA.
Yeah, that bandage bothers him. It does. He's not comfortable with it. It's on the shooting end. You think every time that he dribbles, passes, catches, shoots, it's a factor. So maybe we'll be, on Saturday when we get to that game, maybe at that point he won't have a bandage. I don't know.
What are your impressions of the new athletic director?
Very, very excited, and I think we're all very excited to have him. His experience, both, as an athletic director in the Mid-American Conference at Central Michigan for a decade. That's a wealth of experience. And then additionally, he was at Oregon for 18 years and learned the Pac-10 at that time, the West Coast. So I think the blend of both of those, we're excited to have him and his family here. I had a chance to meet him, and really, really good guy, and reminds me in some ways of Greg Byrne, and maybe almost more experienced in some ways than certainly when Greg first came here, but some of the characteristics that I think we all really liked about Greg, I think Dave has those as well.
How much did you get to visit with him before?
Just briefly, yeah, just briefly. I met him. That would be it.
What stands out that are similar to Greg?
I think one is he's a really good person, easy to talk to, very down to earth, very genuine, and I think he'll fit in very, very well here. And like I said, we're excited to have him. He's coming at a really crucial time for our program, for the athletic department, and I think we'll be in really good hands.
Coach, what are your impressions on Kelsey Plum and her achievement this weekend?
Amazing. Yeah, I was following it because I saw that she needed 50-some points, to break the all-time scoring record career. And then I was confused because it said she had 57 points. I think that's what she scored. And I started to think, like, she didn't score 57 in one game to pass, and she did. I mean, on senior night, I mean, wow. What a tribute to her as a player and the Pac-12, Washington. I mean, they were in the Final Four last year. I think you want to know how great of a player she is. You know, it's great to see the team get to the Final Four. And I know Adia coached her for a while as well. And what a great story. But truly an incredible accomplishment. And I think for her to do what she did on senior night is like, wow. It's almost like a movie.
How does your practice preparation change with the full week to prepare for one game?
You know, it changes a little bit, but we have to be smart right now because we're late in the game. You know, we're entering March, and you know, we have 30 games under our belt. I think it's about practicing the right way, hard, but not overdoing it. I mean, rest, having freshness, both, you know, not just, you know, physically, but also you can wear your own team down by showing them too much film, and you know, in your quest to be good at everything, you kind of take it away because we've been at this a while. So I think we'll balance using this week to be as fresh as we can and ready, and at the same time, obviously, it's an important week of practice.
Take the second day off or shorter practices, or?
I think both.
Alonso had arguably he had his best scoring output in his career, but he also had the primary assignment on ball. How did he hold up in that end, and maybe are we not talking enough about Alonso's defense?
No, Alonso is, like we knew, he's becoming more comfortable, and I think you're truly seeing him enter his best phase. You miss 19 games. It's not easy to just all of a sudden plug into a game, plug into a team. And, you know, it's taken him a few weeks here to settle in. But, no, you're right. He had a great game in a big game. And he was a big reason why we were in the game to have a chance to win it, because not only did he have 28 points, but what was he, 11 for 14 from the floor, I think, which he was incredibly efficient. If there's a lesson here, nobody's talking about him because we lost. No one really cares because you lost the game, and that's how it is in college basketball. When you win big games and your team is great, everybody gives you a lot of attention, and when you don't, you're forgotten.
What do you make of Lowry's recent shooting struggles?
He'll bounce back. We have to do a better job of getting him good looks, and you know, he's done everything that we've asked. He's rebounded. He's scoring better around the basket. He's really an improved defensive player, and he gets a couple good looks. He'll bounce back for sure.
Do you attribute it all to fatigue?
Maybe a little bit. You know, he looked, I thought, a little bit fatigued in the UCLA game, and you could see why. One thing about the Pac-12, you're playing that second game after you just finished the first game. You know, you're always playing those 2 games in 3 days, and that second game is it's a monster. It really is, especially with the pace that the game was played at the other night, and just kind of everything that went into that.
Perimeter shot particularly, though, the last 4 weeks, I mean, it was remarkable how good he was, and now it's completely, you know, he's 19% the last 4 weeks from three. I mean, do you do anything different in either not talking about it or talking about it, you know what I mean? Like, maybe is it partly mentally?
Yeah, I don't think he's gotten as many good looks in the recent weeks as he did early on, and we have to do a better job of creating those for him. His teammates do as well, and again, that's part of the growth, continued development, the improvement of our team. You know, sometimes when a group of 5 is out there, we're not all equal. You know, you don't get to shoot the same shot as he gets to shoot, and your shot from 3 isn't as good of a shot as he shoots it. So when you have somebody like him open, that ball has to get to him quickly, and I think the recognition of his special talent, that's something that we can do better, and I think we will.
Coach, how much conversation have you had with Adia Barnes throughout the course of the season, and how often do you guys communicate about anything?
Really more in passing. The way our schedules work this week was different. Usually they're on the road when we're at home, and 4 months goes by very quickly, and you see each other in passing. But we talked recently because all of us were concerned about the athletic director and making sure that we got somebody, you know, like Dave Hickey. But Adia has been a great addition. She's going to do really well here, and we're excited to have her.
How did you think Keanu played against UCLA?
Keanu played really well, and he played really hard. In the first half, he gave us a surge that led to us being up by 4 points at halftime. And I think he continues to show us his value of playing him in each game. You know, he gives us that defensive presence, versatility, somebody who's incredibly quick as a big guy, and he's different than our other 3 big guys. So, but he did a good job.
You played 2 minutes in the second half. Was that because you guys got behind? Or?
Yep.
Your son reached the state title game. What makes you, I guess as more of as a dad, what makes you most proud of his senior year?
You know, he's at a great school, number one, and he loves it there. That's what you worry the most about, and surrounded by a great group of people, teachers, coaches, his teammates. But he's had just an overall great experience at South Point, on and off the court. And, you know, as a dad, that's really all that matters. The fact that it ended in the state championship, that's something that he'll remember forever. And, you know, I'm very proud of him. I think he was one of the team's leaders this year. And I think he had a really good attitude. He played his best at the end. So I wish I would have seen it. You know, that's the downside of being a college basketball coach. That happens and you're not there. But I know he understands.
How much basketball do you guys talk?
Not a lot. He's that teenager that goes to his room and watches TV. I see our players more than him. You know, even when he's in our house, he's really not in our house, and he tries to leave as often as possible. So just saying hello to him is difficult.
What's next for him?
You know, I don't know. I think there's a chance that he'll come here to Arizona, not necessarily in a playing capacity, but just as a student. But he's working through that, trying to make his decision now.
Did you see any video of those the 2 games last week? Because they were both ironic on the same night you had games.
Yeah, and my wife, she was there. She sends stats. Doesn't do a very good job communicating the stats. I'm confused a lot of times on really what she's sending, but she does send those things.
He had pretty good numbers against a really good team in that final. Yeah.
He did, and that's good that he went out like that for sure.
The guys you signed in November, anything you kind of, keeping tabs on them as their senior year, anything surprise you one way or another about any of them?
No, I think they're all doing well. Brandon Randolph has really had a great year. And, I know Alex is playing in the state championship on Tuesday. DeAndre's finishing up. Obviously, he'll finish in the McDonald's game. Ira started off where, he was injured, but he's playing really, really well. And, and our recruiting is continuously moving forward. I think we'll add at least 1 player this spring, maybe 2 to that class. Yep.